The 4th of July, America's holiday that represents breaking away from the old system and fostering the growth of the new one. The birth of a nation that forged a new identity. What part of any of that is relatable to Jon Jones and Conor McGregor? It would be best for the UFC to use this monumental event to market their rising stars and forge their future. MMA media does a great job of keeping the careers of McGregor and Jones alive. It has been months since Dana White has gone out of his way to speak on them, only responding to questions regarding the former champions. The pair is having more notable events outside of competition than in over the last several years. It has been over 5 years since Conor McGregor has even had a win. Their negative public image and unreliability make them poor choices to represent such a historic occasion. Besides, they only represent more of what we already know and don't appeal to anyone to make time on the holiday to watch instead of Nathan's hot dog eating contest or attend a barbecue. If you aren't sold on this assessment, ask yourself this question: when was the last time you heard someone ask with anticipation when Conor or Jones is fighting again? There is a wealth of talent on the UFC roster to match the White House. Talent that will both satisfy the usual consumer as well as attract new ones, tuning in for the landmark night in the industry. With recent and unwarranted criticism of the lack of stars in MMA, there is no brighter spotlight than Independence Day fireworks to expose their athletes. Here are a few names that are meant to fight on this card. With a who's who of names on his resume of opponents, Jared Cannonier has proven easy to match in highly anticipated fights. But it's not only his ability as a world-class fighter and fierce competitor that makes the Killa Gorilla belong on the UFC White House. Cannonier is a retired veteran who served 3 years in the U.S. Army before launching his MMA career and becoming a title challenger. One could argue it's a requirement to have a U.S. military veteran on a fight night that celebrates the birth of our nation. We owe them our freedom, and they deserve to be represented at such an event. It just makes it easier that Jared is one of the best middleweights in the world. Even though he's ranked 12th in the lightweight division, you must be wondering why a Brazilian fighter makes the list. With a large tool shed of ability for exciting fights, it's just the bang needed in DC that night. Also, there isn't a fighter currently on the roster who speaks more highly of the United States than Money, Moicano. What would be better than an immigrant speaking all week in the press about how they made a life for themselves here? He is the epitome of the American dream. A rising star in the welterweight division, Brahimaj shows growth in his game every time he sets foot in the cage. This is a 5-tool athlete that blends striking and grappling with the elite. Always ready, always game, Ramiz is the kind of underdog who steals the show. His charisma on the microphone comes from confidence in his ability and graciousness for the opportunity to be a UFC fighter. A little New York swag doesn't hurt. With unlimited potential and fight IQ, he's the perfect candidate to show who's hustling the grind today with the drive and power to be on top tomorrow. From the small town of Middletown, Ohio, Kayla has become one of the greatest combat sports athletes this country has ever had. She represented the USA in the Olympics on 2 occasions and returned home with the gold on both. Her message of hard work trumps, no pun intended, all, and is one that everyone can get behind and bring prime energy to the event. A former Olympian current champion would make the perfect fighter to headline the event. It would be a huge mistake not to have her on a 4th of July card. UFC White House doesn't need Jon Jones or Conor McGregor. In fact, it would hurt the brand's opportunity to showcase other stars by having the undercard in their shadow. This is the perfect time to showcase the depth of their roster and send the message they're moving forward from the old guard. The 4th of July is when America broke away from Great Britain and eventually took its place as the world superpower. This could be the same turning point for the UFC. Who are some of the fighters you want to see at UFC White House?